Everybody, Invisiblekatana here, and today I would like to discuss my hopes/predictions for Summer Games Fest. This is actually my second time doing this, so I'm recording this on Tuesday. Of course, I'm going to drop it on Wednesday because a part of my previous predictions when I recorded this on Monday was talking about well, we haven't heard about a state of play. Maybe they'll do it Sunday because they always say, hey, tomorrow. And turns out, right after I record that today, Tuesday, of course, they're like, hey, tomorrow. So I was like, oh, well, I guess I'll re-record it because that has officially been announced now. But I figured that was going to happen. I'm like, it seems odd that PlayStation wouldn't have something to say right around this time. I'm sure there are going to be PlayStation games, and that's why I was curious, because I was like, man, it's so odd that they wouldn't already have it announced. But they love that last second thing, which I don't mind. There are already rumors about it, so I'm happy it's coming. And we'll start with that, since technically it's going to be the first thing, since Summer Games Fest will be a little bit after. And then, of course, I'll mention my Xbox predictions as well, and also hopes. That was another thing. I was mostly just talking about what I hope to see more than it was actual legit predictions, because everything at this point that I predict might show up is really just a long-standing hope, because it's been 100 million years for most of the things I'm going to reference. So kicking it off with PlayStation, Resident Evil 9. It's definitely happening tomorrow, and I'm going to lose my effing mind when it does. There have been leaks for almost a year at this point, oh, it might be this, it might be that. Apparently there was a really big leak recently, which may or may not confirm the main big leak as far as at least one of the playable characters. I don't know if it's guaranteed that it's going to be more than one. If it is the exact character that has been leaked, I'm going to be a little disappointed, I'll be totally honest. I won't even bother saying what character it is, but if it's that character, I'm gonna be a little upset, because I'm please bring back older characters, for the love of God. Granted, timeline-wise, it's new. I always appreciate that, but let me play as someone that I have not played with in over an effing decade in a new game. That's what I seriously want, not counting the remakes. Just timeline-wise, it's been a long effing time since we had a lot of characters, and if they're using the character that the rumors suggest, that's unfortunate. For my personal opinion, because I'm just come on now, that character is officially maxing out as most games. So we'll see what happens with that. But definitely Resident Evil's coming. I would love it if we got a double feature. It's not gonna happen, but a double feature. RE9, boom, Code Veronica remake. It's not gonna happen, but my God, that's a hope beyond hope. 2 Resident Evil games. I also don't know how I'd feel about that. I might be super scared, because I'd have flashbacks to Resident Evil 3 where it was hey, RE2 comes out and it's great. There's stuff missing. Every time I bring it up, I'm a lot of people love that game, and so do I, but it's my favorite franchise, and I'm gonna scrutinize it a lot more than other people might, because I recognize the details that are missing here. So that happened. It was still 9 out of 10. And then the RE3 remake came out, and I was holy crap, this is pretty close. Unfortunately, it was too close. And then we got the RE3 remake. So if we do get a double feature, it might upset me a little bit, because I really want Code Veronica to have its own time. I want all Resident Evil games to just have the right people making the effing game and actually care about what they're doing. So RE9, and then we'll see what happens as far as the Code Veronica remake. I need that to come out so I can get a VR update, and then I can do the Claire pose so I can dual wield in the game. But RE9 is definitely happening. I guess by the time you guys see this, it'll be later today. RE9 is going to be happening, and I can't wait to see that. So I'm excited for that. The other interesting thing is, I wasn't sure if we would be hey, maybe it's a state of play. And this was when I was predicting when it might happen. If it was after Games Fest, I would have been maybe it'll be a special Ghost of Yote state of play, where they don't announce new stuff. It's just hey, we've had. I'm sure regardless of them doing a state of play, there's going to be trailers and stuff, which is probably why they're doing it in advance. We're probably going to get more details from some of the stuff that ends up being shown off at this state of play. That's almost a guarantee now that it's happening beforehand. We might not see more of Resident Evil 9, which would be pretty sick. I mean, it's been a minute since, even the RE4 remake has come out. They've been working on this for a while now. So they might hit us with at least a release window. I'm expecting, honestly, I think it comes out next year. For sure. It definitely won't be this year. That would be insane if they hit us with the end of the year, but that's not going to happen. It's going to be next year. It might even come out around the time that I don't remember when 4 came out, but I specifically remember 3 came out in April. It was the first week of April or something like that. So I think in that March-April area, I think is when we should expect RE9 to come out. So I think we'll at least get a window. At the very least, they're going to say next year, even if they don't hit us with a specific, season or anything like that. Next year is my prediction. RE9 is coming out for sure. If I'm going to stick with the Capcom thing, and I have to say this, it has to be said, it has to be done. Pragmata. I don't know where it is. I mean, let's face it, I don't know what it is. Last time we saw anything was that little girl saying sorry, and then they were just like, question mark. Like, what the F are you talking about, question marks? So that, along with a couple other games I'm gonna reference, have just vanished from all reality, apparently. And we will see it when we see it. They haven't said it's canceled. They haven't said infinitely delayed or any crap like that. And I would hope that it's actually coming. I'm curious what they're gonna do with it. Like, I love that first trailer, even though it reminded me a lot of Dead Space. Which is never a bad thing, but it was insane. And it's like, okay, they're in space inside a hologram on the moon looking at the Earth, and then it's a dude in a spacesuit and this little cyber android girl or something like that. I have no idea, but I want to know everything. I'm so curious about that. So I hope it happens. I hope they say, hey, Pragmata, here you go. Here's something. It doesn't even have to give us a year. It could just be like, here's actual gameplay. We saw the dude running a little bit in that last trailer, and that was the best they gave us. I hope we get something legit. So this is definitely more of a hope than a prediction. I need to see Pragmata. I hope we also get to see a little bit more of Onimusha, because of course we've had, Onimusha 2. They're probably, man. No, that's a Capcom thing. I was gonna say they're probably gonna show that too, but it's not a Capcom showcase because they would definitely waste time. Like, if Capcom says we're doing a showcase, they're gonna still have a trailer for Onimusha 2 just to tell you it's out right now. So I hope that, that doesn't happen. But at the State of Play, we might get the new Onimusha stuff. We might get to see something, hopefully something new. Maybe not. Maybe we'll get some of that at Games Fest, from a Capcom perspective. They won't flood, that would be like 3 Capcom games. Like, I don't really see that happening. Pragmata, Resident Evil I think is guaranteed. Pragmata, if I had to choose, we know Onimusha is coming out. Spend the time to be like, hey, we didn't forget Pragmata was something we said we were gonna make. So if it's 2 Capcom things, RE9, Pragmata would be my hope. And then I think maybe we'll get at least a little bit, maybe during the actual Summer Games Fest show, is where we'll get our 3rd Capcom thing, where it'll be like, hey, here's a new trailer for Onimusha. So I would hope that that's the case, because we've only had 2, and I think the initial release was at the Game Awards. And it's like, hey, we've gotten 1 trailer since then, and then, Jeff might be able to get us that 2nd full trailer where we get like some actual new content. So that would be my hope. I would love to see that. Going back to the State of Play thing, there, of course, have also been a buttload of rumors that there's going to be a new, smaller God of War game that's going to be set like during the Greek era, or like, in between the 2 eras of the games, and it'll take place in between. I don't know how hopeful I am of that, but man, I would lose my mind if there was a new God of War thing. If it was like kind of Miles Morales style, where it's like, hey, it's maybe like 6-7 hours long, I'd be more than okay with that. And I'm sure that would be standalone. It wouldn't be tied to, Ragnarok like Valhalla was, where it's like, hey, here's a free DLC. I highly doubt that. Like, we're so far removed from Ragnarok that it's going to be its own set property. Like, it'll have its own, sell price. At least that's my expectation for it. Once again, if that came out free after all this time and they were still like, hey, we're still going to make this one free as well, that would be insane. I would never expect anyone to do that, but it would also be pretty sick. But I don't think that's happening. But it's hard for me to say. Like, it has been a decent enough rumor that I could see it happening, and especially right around, we always get hyped. Games Fest coming up and everything. We get hyped. You want it to be the ultimate announcements, but it's so hard to say. But I'll throw it out there as one of the hopes versus a prediction. I kind of hope that it happens. And now we're moving into predictions, and this is also right underneath hope. It's in the same vein as Pragmata. But I want to see Wolverine tomorrow. That game could probably be finished and come out next week at this point. Like, it has been so long since that original announcement trailer. Technically, we've seen more of the game if you go with the leaks, but even that's been years now. That was years ago. Years. And they have said nothing. I think we're going to see it tomorrow. If not tomorrow, I'd kind of be shocked, because obviously it's these PlayStation State of Play. I would be shocked if it wasn't tomorrow, but it was during Summer Games Fest. That would actually be kind of crazy, where it's like, surprise, like, we let him have Wolverine. That would be kind of nuts. But I want to see Wolverine. So my prediction, if it's not tomorrow, I expect Wolverine to pop up. Honestly, at this point, it's, like I said, it's kind of in the bit of the hope category. But Pragmata was like, hey, we're delaying it. And then, hey, we're delaying it until some point in the future. Wolverine was just like, we're making this game, and then the leaks happened, and that stopped a bunch of stuff. They canceled probably that Venom game they were talking about. We got no DLC for Spider-Man, which everybody was expecting. We got no, I forgot the name of the multiplayer game, but they made a full effing trailer for it, voiceovers and everything. They canceled that game. So the only thing they could possibly have is Wolverine and Spider-Man. I doubt they're working on both at the same time. I doubt they're working on the X-Men game. That was something that came up during the leaks where it was like their timeline for games. But once again, nothing happened with the Venom thing. We didn't get that multiplayer game either. And we didn't even get DLC for Spider-Man 2. So a lot has changed and been canceled and killed off. So all they have right now, I would imagine, is what they're doing with Wolverine. I expect a trailer tomorrow, or at the very least this weekend. Like, it's been long enough. I think it's happening. I think we should expect Wolverine. Something else, as far as PlayStation is concerned, sticking with their first party stuff, I don't know if we should expect I don't think anything's going to happen with Horizon. There's no way they're close enough for, Horizon 3 information or anything like that. I highly doubt that that's going to get a DLC. So, I don't, heck, it already got a DLC. So that's done. So I don't think we should expect Horizon 3. Obviously, they do have that multiplayer thing, which they have not canceled that. Maybe it's not crazy that we get something from Horizon. Possibly. That's kind of a crazy bit of a stretch. I don't see it happening, but it's possible. Because there's been that noise out there like, hey, we got like 1,800 Horizon games coming out. We got the Lego game. Maybe we'll get something else, in the Horizon family. So maybe slight possibility. I kind of doubt it, but I forgot about that multiplayer thing that for whatever reason they didn't cancel. So we'll see what happens there. But I kind of doubt it, but maybe, just to throw that one out there. Outside of that, we don't need more Death Stranding. And if we do get that, that'll be at Summer Games Fest. And of course, Kojima's actually going to be there. I think we're going to get OD finally, like a bit more information on that, because Death Stranding has had, it basically had its half-hour trailer come out already. Like, the previews have come out where people played it. Like, that's already said and done. I don't think he needs to put out another trailer for that. So I think that's finished. But OD is coming up, and Fizzin is like in the ether at this point. So I think something might happen, and that's more for, like I said, Summer Games Fest. So I think we should probably expect to see that. I highly doubt that will pop up in the PlayStation thing, especially with him actually being there live. Maybe, just maybe, Remedy might have like a final trailer and they'll decide to throw it in the PlayStation thing before the rest of the news hits. Maybe like one final release trailer, because FBC Firebreak comes out in like 2 weeks. For anyone that didn't know that, that's the multiplayer game that Remedy is doing. And it's also the first game Remedy has ever published by themselves. For anyone that didn't know, that's a very fun fact that I found out fairly recently. And I was like, holy crap, every game that they've ever made has been published through someone else. Obviously with Max Payne, it was Rockstar. I have no idea about Death Rally, so that might have been through someone else. But Max Payne was Rockstar. Alan Wake was Microsoft, Quantum Break was Microsoft. Alan Wake 2, of course, they got the license and everything back, but that was with Epic Games, and that's why it's digital only, that's why it was digital for a long time, just for money purposes, to save the money, and also that's why it's not on Steam, is because, they had to deal with Epic. So that's why that happened, and even with Control, that was 505 Games. So this is the first time that they've ever self-published a game and just been like, this is our game, so every drop of money they get for that game goes straight to Remedy, which is fantastic. So I expect one final trailer, and I think it makes sense to throw it in. Maybe if they can get the spacing, who knows what else PlayStation might have planned. I honestly have like no other ideas unless something brand new and crazy pops up, which they might actually do since they wanted to wait until Games Fest. Like, I hope for their sake they got a good one, because they've had some bad ones, but I really hope that they're not like, we're gonna do one right before all of this amazing Summer Game Fest news, and then just be like, it's kind of trash, and then it's just forgotten entirely. That's not gonna happen, because at the very least, they got Resident Evil. That's like a guarantee. Let's face it, Resident Evil is there. So they're gonna have news, and I expect them to have more. So Resident Evil, hopefully Pragmata at some point during this week. Maybe potentially slight possible chance of some Horizon stuff. We'll see about that. Maybe a little bit of Onimusha. And like I said, that would probably be more Summer Games Fest, so it's not like 3 straight Capcom games. Obviously, they wouldn't be in order, but still, 3 Capcom games. Maybe something from Ghost of Yote, like another trailer, a little bit more gameplay. I kind of doubt it, but I feel like that's something that would be more for Summer Games Fest versus the State of Play, where it's just like, hey, you guys know what's coming out. They did the recent trailer saying it's going to be in October. I think it makes more sense to do like newer stuff for the state of play, so it's all on them. Like, hey, here's new things that are coming out. Maybe we even get like an actual glimpse of Soros. I feel like that might be a little early, but it's also been months. Like, sometimes it only takes a couple months and then you get new stuff. I mean, that's exactly what happened with Onimusha, where it was like that just got announced very recently, and then like a month or two ago is when we got that brand new trailer, and it was like, hey, here's like straight up gameplay. So it doesn't take long for there to actually be more stuff for you to really look at, and it's not like they haven't been working on the game for a long time. So we might see Soros as one of the first party trailers and stuff like that, so that'll be cool. But that's kind of where I'm at when it comes to PlayStation itself. But Summer Games Fest as a whole, I'm gonna just throw this out there, and actually this might be more tied in with Xbox, but I think Hollow Knight Silksong is gonna be there. I personally don't care, but I know that that's out there. That's like Wolverine and Pragmata, just for other people. Like, I care about Wolverine and Pragmata. I do not give a crap about Hollow Knight Silksong. I did not play the last one, so I don't care. I have no attachment to it in literally any way, shape, and or form. But for those of you out there that care, I feel your pain, and I hope you get it, because they did it in the Nintendo Direct, like, hey, it's coming out this year, or so they say. So I hope you guys get an official trailer for that. That would be fantastic. Here's another hope beyond hope. This is for me personally. It's not gonna happen, but Dino Crisis. I just want to put that out in the world. Pragmata is more likely than Dino Crisis at this point. But hey, maybe I can live in a beautiful world this weekend and I get 4 Capcom announcements. I don't see that happening, but maybe. Hey, who knows? They might, I know there's been talk. People are like, Marvel vs. Capcom 4. I feel like it's a little too early, but at the same time, it does kind of make sense. Because maybe they were already working on it and it wasn't to gauge interest. They've already been doing MVC4. And then this was just to kind of remind people why MVC is actually good. So maybe Marvel vs. Capcom 4 is going to be happening somewhere during Summer Games Fest, or whatever they end up calling it, MVC4 or another subtitle like Infinite. But maybe. I don't know about that one, but it's one of those things where people are like, oh, they're doing this to gauge interest and stuff. And it's like, maybe they're doing it just to remind people why you should be interested. And they know that it's a moneymaker and they're already on it. That seems to be counterintuitive to what most companies do, which they should, to be like, hey, trust the effing franchises that you have and why they're popular. And normally it is kind of a gauging interest sort of situation. But who knows? Capcom's been going pretty crazy lately. They might have been working on it and they were just like, let's just throw out these, collection so people get hyped again and be like, oh, let's hope it happens, and then we get it. It could be a Capcom weekend. I'd lose my mind. It could be a Capcom weekend, but that's a little bit too hype, I think. So maybe some Marvel vs. Capcom. Hopefully Pragmata gets something, because for the love of God, we need some news on that. Resident Evil is basically a solid guarantee, and possibly a little bit more of Onimusha. So, and I just have to say Dino Crisis because I'm legally obligated. But other than that, Hollow Knight Silksong, I hope that works for you people. I hope Splinter Cell does get that remake, because that's another big rumor that's been out there for a hot minute. I hope that happens for Splinter Cell people, because Ubisoft has been very rude about that, where they're like, hey, Sam Fisher, and they'll just put him in anything except an effing game. They just keep doing it, and it's so rude. So I hope Splinter Cell people get Splinter Cell. I hope Hollow Knight people get Hollow Knight Silksong. And we'll see what ends up happening outside of that. But Xbox-wise, I'll skip over the rest of my ramblings for Summer Games Fest. I'll save that for the end, because that's kind of just up in the air. Xbox specifically, I think they will reference what they plan on doing in the future, because we've been in this weird circumstance of they canceled the handheld, at least for now. They have the new console coming out seemingly next year. I think, and I know it's crazy to say, but I think they might do the announcement officially for the console. They might at the very least be like, hey, we know we've kind of talked about it. It's been sort of up in the air about us doing our next console generation. And it's been referenced that they're doing it. They've said they're doing it. But I think they might do like the official announcement, like, yo, this is really happening. And maybe they'll just say it, and then it'll be like, hey, we're gonna do another showcase at the end of the year, and that's when we're gonna like show you everything. That seems odd to do, but at the same time, they're in a really weird space where they could make that sort of news announcement, and for the nerds like me who are talking about it, that's still actually an important thing to do, to get investment, like in interest within the company, to be like, okay, they are actually doing this and they're prepared to talk about this. It will get kind of lambasted if they bring it up, but then they don't have anything to show except for the idea and saying, we'll talk about it later. But at the same time, it would be a little bit of news, like legitimate news of what in the world they actually plan on doing in the future. But I expect them to talk something tech-wise, because that's what Xbox does, what they're leaving behind, what they're sticking with. I think they're going to make those references. I'm sure they'll use very big words, community and investment and feedback, because they love to say that, and then kill all the companies off. So we'll see what happens. But other than that, I expect some information for Gears of War. I think they'll do a trailer. I think we might actually see an official trailer for the remake. I would hope that they hit us with a double feature where it's like, hey, here's an official trailer for the Gears 1 remake, and here's an official trailer for Gears E-Day. I think that would be sick if they did both. That would be so cool, because they already, the announcement came out and it was done in like pictures and stuff where it's like, here's the resolution for the original game, and then the remaster, and now the super duper remaster. And it's like, they need a trailer for this to show people Gears 1 in 4K 60 frames per second. So I think that's gonna happen. I think their thing is Sunday. So I think that's gonna happen, and I would hope that they do have a trailer for E-Day as well, just to be like, hey, we're gonna double up. And I think you do the Gears 1 trailer first to be like, here's this, and then also, don't forget, we got a new one coming out too. So you show that the remake is coming out, maybe even put the official release date on it, coming to all platforms and all that good stuff, and then do Gears E-Day. I also feel like maybe, and I don't keep up with the franchise, so people that are more invested in it, you can let me know how old the game even is, because I don't really know. But the most recent Horizon game is now on PS5. Once again, I do not keep up with those games, because for one, I don't have an Xbox, and two, I don't like racing games. So I don't know when that last game came out, but maybe we get an announcement for a brand new one, and it's like, hey, we just released that one, much like the Gears of War thing, where it's like, hey, we just decided this is officially coming back with a remake, multi-platform. Here's Gears E-Day, which is probably going to be multi-platform. And then here's what we did with Forza. And it's like, hey, we just released that as well on PlayStation. And also, here's a new Forza game for the Forza lovers out there, which will probably come out multi-platform. So I feel like it's possible. Once again, that's just me going off of, it's a really cool back and forth situation to be like, hey, we officially announced we're putting this out, so here's a trailer or an announcement at the very least that we're working on a brand new one that's going to be coming out in like, it would probably be like 2 years if it's a first announcement. Even though, they say lots of stuff where it's like, I forgot what year that was, but they're like, everything's coming out by the end of next year. And that's when I think Hollow Knight was like first announced, and that was what, 4 or 5 years ago now. So, they say a lot of things, when stuff is going to happen and when stuff is going to come out, and then things change. So we'll see about that. But possibly a Forza thing. Like I said, I don't keep up with the production of that, and I don't even know when the last one officially came out. It just seems like it would be kind of a good news story for them to kind of hit with that. Also, and this has to be said because this is definitely a prediction more than a hope, and it goes with all the rumors that we've been hearing floating around. I think we're going to get the Fallout 3 remake. I think that'll happen officially on Sunday. Once again, impossible dream of a dream if they double dip and they're like, we got both of them, Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas remakes. That is not going to happen. And even though Fallout New Vegas makes way more sense to tie into the second season of the show because they're going to be in New Vegas, they're not going to do that. They're going to do Fallout 3 first, and then they'll do New Vegas after, especially considering the fact that it's like, Obsidian did it, and that's kind of a weird thing, with every time they talk about it, like, well, that was really Obsidian, that was not Bethesda. So they're going to do 3 first, even if New Vegas makes more sense. But it would be crazy if they did New Vegas to tie in better with the show. But I think they're going to do 3. I don't know if I would expect a shadow drop for it, but that would also be sick if they're like, hey, we just did Oblivion shadow drop, and then 2 shadow drops in the same year for 2 very large games that are generations old, but people still love them. That's a heck of a win for Bethesda and Xbox as a whole. So I don't know if that's possible, that we should expect a secondary shadow drop with a Fallout 3 remake on Sunday or anything crazy like that. But I do expect an announcement at the very least where they officially say like, yep, this is what's happening. Fallout 3 remake is going to be coming by the end of this year to coincide, of course, with season 2 of the show. And who knows when it comes to Elder Scrolls? I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. That's another thing where it's like, I prefer Fallout over, Elder Scrolls and Skyrim. I haven't even beat Skyrim. I put like 8 hours in. I've never beaten that game. So I don't really care that much when it comes to the next Elder Scrolls. I probably won't ever even buy the game. But also, it should be announced officially at this point. It has been way too long since they announced that effing game. At this point, they need to put something out, just for the fact that they decided to make that announcement 100 million years ago. that game should be announced. That junk should be coming out next year. There should be an official trailer. Like, it should be. I don't think it will. I'm gonna be honest, but it should, at this point, be announced with an official trailer. We're coming out next year. It doesn't even have to have a date, but it should be coming out by next year. I'm just saying that from the perspective of when they announced that game, what feels like 10 years ago at this point. That effing thing should come out by next year, and it should be an official trailer to say so this Sunday. That's what I think. That's what I feel. But I do not believe it's going to happen. That would be crazy. Just from the gaming perspective, the community side of things, that would be great. Just to see how much like Splinter Cell and stuff was like, I don't really care. I just want it more for the community. I want Dino Crisis. That's what I want. But we'll see what happens with Elder Scrolls. But I think the Gears of War thing is pretty easy to guess. I think that's going to happen. We're going to get a trailer for the remake, or whatever they want to call it. We're going to get a trailer for that. Hopefully something when it comes to E-Day. I think they should be able to put both out, and that would be very cool. Possibly something when it comes to Forza as well. And then I expect some brand new announcements. I think they're going to save their stuff, and then there's going to be something in there that's like a brand new announcement that we just aren't expecting, that fortunately hasn't leaked and stuff like that. So obviously world premieres and all that good stuff. I expect that for both PlayStation as well as Microsoft. I don't know, I expect it to be brand new stuff. So at least one IP a piece. I expect something just a brand new announcement. Whether it's a continuation, I shouldn't say brand new IP. It doesn't matter if it's a continuation or a new IP, but the next of something that we just haven't seen yet, I expect something brand new. Like just brand new, not just like a brand new remake. Like I expect something brand new, at least from Microsoft. I shouldn't say that for PlayStation because they're finally putting their games out. I don't expect anything brand new from them, but I do expect something at least from Xbox. I would hope there's going to be something for PlayStation. I just can't guess if it'll be, yet another remake, which could be great. It depends on what it is. I mean, if they, I highly doubt it's happening with Ghost of Yotei, but if Sucker Punch was also like, surprise, finally, here we go with Infamous, I'll be happy. If they do, I think this is another rumor where people are like, what if we get like another fully remastered collection of all the God of War games? I'd be happy with that because I never actually got that collection back on the PS3. I'd love to have like, all 5 or 6 games from PS2 all the way through PS3. I'd be happy with that. I'd actually buy that if they did like an insane remaster because I beat God of War 3 and like I beat the first 3 games. I own the first 2, but I never owned 3 and I beat it like 1 time. And then I played a demo of Ascension, so I've never beaten that, and I never beat the PSP games either. So I still have like 3 full games that are brand, I know the stories of them, because, I love God of War, so I was like, I know the stories, but I've never played them myself, so like all the minute details and stuff are kind of lost on me. I would love to play those, and I would definitely like buy that to play the entire franchise, and then you have a new game coming out as well. I would definitely love to see that. Once again, there's a lot of concepts of like double dipping where it's like we got this new thing and this old thing, or we're announcing officially a remake or remaster, but also here's a trailer for something else. So there's a lot of concepts of double dipping because so many franchises that we know are going to have something else that they could talk about as well. So there's a lot of that in there, but I expect a lot of good stuff from, I'm hoping, like I said, I got Resident Evil, honestly, ultra bias. I'm set. That's literally the only thing I need, and I'm set for life. Like, my whole day is good, and I got Resident Evil 9. I don't care. So I'm good when it comes to PlayStation, guaranteed. Xbox, I think, has the opportunity to, if they just flood it with a bunch of trailers and this, that, and the other, I think I'll be happy with that, even if I'm not going to buy like 90% of this stuff. I'm sure there's going to be something in there that I like. Summer Games Fest, I think, is going to have some interesting stuff. I do think Kojima with the OD thing is the biggest prediction I can come up with, because now he's basically done. It's just launch trailers and whatever for Death Stranding, and then OD. So I expect to see OD this weekend at some point. And other than that, I think some other random new IPs. I do think we'll see a little bit more of Onimusha, a little bit more Ghost of Yotei, even if it's not at the state of play. I think it'll just be there because those games have just been announced. I think we should see them. And then probably, of course, I'm sure he'll have his own world premieres and stuff like that. And I think something else. I think maybe another trailer for Metal Gear, because we're at the end of that one, because that's basically about to come out now. And then my spider senses are telling me I feel like there's a remake coming somewhere else. I would love it if it was Uncharted. I don't think it's gonna happen, but I would be over the moon if we got hit with like an official Uncharted one, like straight up remake. I'd lose my mind. I don't see it happening, but I'd be very happy with that. That's a remake I think everyone would be able to get behind too, because it's like the first game could really use it more than anything else. That first game is quite different just from a playing perspective. And I don't know what updates they made during the remaster, but they could do a full remake, and I think everyone would be okay with that. So that's all I got for that. I would love to hear your predictions, hopes, and dreams for, PlayStation. Well, at this point, if you're watching this, odds are there won't be enough people to watch this to comment as far as the PlayStation part. But let me know what I got right. Let me know what I got wrong for PlayStation. Let me know what your hopes and dreams are for all of Summer Games Fest, and also what in the world is Xbox going to do? Because I think they have a good opportunity to be like, this is where we're headed, because they've been effing up a lot, in my personal opinion, and a lot of people's opinion as well. I think they have a good opportunity here to talk about what's happening, the future, and then after that, just hit us with a bunch of games that are nice. So I think they have an opportunity to kind of get back in the good graces of a lot of people this Sunday, and I hope they do, for their sake. But we'd love to know your thoughts and predictions, hopes, and dreams, so please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.